Live from Asmara, this is ERi-TV English News Broadcast for Tuesday evening, 21st of April. Time is 10:30 p.m. Good evening to you, and let's begin with the top stories. Meeting conducted on implementation of development programs in Fortosawa subzone. Call made for upkeep of heritage in Ansawa region. Trump says it's highly unlikely to extend ceasefire with Iran. And India and South Korea set $50 billion trade targets. Good to have you with us. Proceeding with our full reports. Ambassador Mahmoud Al-Huri, governor of the Gashwarka region, conducted a meeting with administrative organs, heads of line ministries, and representatives of farmers in the Fortosawa subzone, focusing on the implementation of development programs and administrative issues. At the meeting, Ambassador Mahmoud gave an extensive briefing on development programs, preparation of land for cultivation, as well as the role and participation of subzones in the implementation of the set-out development programs and the timely provision of administrative service to the public. Ambassador Mahmoud called for strengthened efforts in the regrouping of villages, timely preparation of land for cultivation, proper water management, with a view to ensuring the sustainability of water projects put in place in the subzone, reinforced efforts in irrigation farming to boost production and effective control of deforestation, among others. He also called on the administrators at all levels to motivate and encourage the public to strengthen their participation and contribution in the implementation of development programs, especially in water and soil conservation. Mr. Aregai Mabrahtu, acting administrator of the subzone, said that efforts are being exerted to implement the set-out development programs in collaboration with area administrators, village coordinators, as well as government institutions. Mrs. Miriam Abdullah, head of anthropology and archaeology at the Department of Culture and Sports in the Ansawa region, called for the proper upkeep of the tangible and intangible heritage in the region, noting that they are a reflection of our identity. Mrs. Miriam noted that the region is rich in both discovered and undiscovered heritage, as well as historical sites, and called for their proper protection before they are damaged due to lack of awareness and negligence. Indicating that heritage is classified as tangible and intangible, Mrs. Miriam said that items such as coins, ceramics, and other artifacts are susceptible to depredation and destruction and therefore require commitment and awareness for their preservation. Mrs. Miriam went on to say that the prehistoric sites in Debre Ba'at in Asmat, Aratuk in Halhal, the ancient monasteries of Debre Sina and Saada Amba, Tinkullahas, where the Second World War culminated, as well as the trenches of the armed struggle for independence in Rora, Halhal, Mansa, and Ganfalom are among the important ancient and historical places in the region. Noting that the Department of Culture and Sports is working earnestly in collaboration with partners to enhance public awareness, Mrs. Miriam said that awareness-raising activities will continue in earnest, underlining that the preservation and upkeep of heritage should not be left to one institution alone. Mrs. Miriam called on the public and stakeholders to strengthen their participation in the efforts. As part of the efforts being exerted to control blindness caused by trachoma, successful eyelid surgery was performed in the Molki subzone from 27 March to mid-April. The report was made by Nurse Mabrahtu Yamana, head of health facilities in the subzone. Nurse Mabrahtu indicated that the surgery was conducted in 9 centers involving 3 surgical units and said that successful operations were performed on 122 patients. He also said that briefings were provided to the patients on the measures they have to take. Nurse Jonas Gebretatios, an eye surgery expert, said that 28 health professionals participated in the program and that patients from remote areas of the subzone were among the beneficiaries. Those were updates on local issues. Global affairs will follow as we come back. And globally, President Donald Trump said yesterday that it's highly unlikely he would extend a 2-week ceasefire with Iran if the deal is not reached before it ends this week. This is according to reports. The reports cited Trump as telling in a brief interview that the delegation is en route to the Pakistani capital for a second round of negotiation with Iran. Trump also told reporters that he is willing to meet with senior Iranian leaders if a breakthrough is reached, but not necessarily for him to attend the talks in person. Trump said the truce, which he announced on April 7, will expire on Wednesday evening U.S. Eastern Time. Asked if he expects strikes to resume immediately afterwards if no deal is reached, Trump said that if there is no deal, he would certainly expect. And people familiar with the plan said the second round of talks is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, according to sources. However, Iran has not yet decided to send a negotiating team and will not enter talks as long as a naval blockade remains in place, Iran's semi-official news agency said on Sunday. The issue of the U.S. naval blockade is a very fundamental obstacle in the way of the talks, and this issue has been conveyed to the Pakistani mediator. India and South Korea have set a target to nearly double bilateral trade to $50 billion in 2030. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi pledged to boost trade between their countries from about $27 billion now after meeting in New Delhi yesterday. The leaders vowed to strengthen supply chains, improve market access, and encourage greater investment. The Indian Prime Minister said the countries will tap into new opportunities for cooperation, from chips to ships, talent to technology, entertainment to energy. Lee said Seoul and New Delhi have agreed to upgrade economic cooperation by focusing on sectors including shipbuilding, defense, and artificial intelligence. Seoul aims to increase the import of naphtha, a crude oil derivative, from New Delhi to offset potential disruptions related to the Middle East conflict. India accounts for about 8% of South Korea's naphtha imports in 2025. Bilateral trades and economic relations between New Delhi and Seoul gathered momentum following the implementation of the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement (CEPA) in 2010. A nationwide mobilization against U.S. sanctions continued yesterday in Venezuela, with National Assembly President George Rodriguez leading a rally calling for potential and social unity. Rodriguez said we have to put an end to the sanction at Cerro El Gallo in San Felix, where the rally took place. He said the campaign aims to build consensus and push for the lifting of economic sanctions, urging Venezuelans to set aside differences and focus on shared interests. The mobilization is part of the national rally launched on April 19 by acting President Delcy Rodriguez, with events held in several states. At the launch event in Zulia State, Delcy Rodriguez said Venezuela must overcome U.S. sanctions, adding that millions of children born during nearly a decade of economic restrictions have faced limited access to basic social and economic conditions. The nationwide campaign includes marches and public events across the country and is scheduled to conclude in Caracas on May 1st. Ancient objects have been returned due to Cairo's continued efforts to repatriate cultural heritage, the country's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities said. Cairo has reclaimed 13 ancient artifacts, including rare vessels and statues, that were illegally brought to the U.S. The items were handed over during a ceremony at the Egyptian Consulate General in New York. The recovered objects include an alabaster jar for oils and perfumes dating to the 7th century BC, as well as cosmetics containers shaped like animals from the Middle and New Kingdoms of ancient Egypt. The Egyptian side thanked their U.S. counterparts for their role in the investigation. Officials said the case highlights the importance of international cooperation in confronting the illicit trafficking of cultural property. Egypt has recently stepped up efforts to recover antiquities from abroad. Last November, Cairo has announced the recovery of 36 artifacts from the U.S., including a Roman-era mummy mask and a group of rare Coptic and Syriac manuscripts. We're about to end our news broadcast, but before we sign off, here's the final glance at the top stories. Meeting conducted on implementation of development programs. Call made for upkeep of heritage in Ansaba region. Trump says it's highly unlikely to extend ceasefire with Iran. And India and South Korea set $50 billion trade target. And that's all with the news for the session. On behalf of the entire news crew, thank you for watching. I am Salim Burhana. Have a great night.